Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of October 23rd, 2025, including Sarah Bond hints at the next Xbox home console again, Call of Duty concerns grow as Battlefield 6 reaches impressive launch sales numbers, a few U.S. senators have voiced their concerns regarding the unsavory EA Saudi blood money deal that recently was announced, all that and more. On This Week in Xbox History, in the year 2002, 23 years ago, Lord of the Rings The Two Towers was released for the Xbox. Not only that, but this year in Xbox history, 22 years ago? 2003? SSX 3 was released for the Xbox. Very important games. Of course, Lord of the Rings, I don't know why everyone just remembers these Two Towers, and especially the next one, The Return of the Kings, as just a really, really good licensed movie, beat 'em up, hack and slash kind of stage brawler games. These games were really good. They had light RPG elements, but they were just very fun co-op, side, like not side scrolling because they were 3D, but just beat 'em up brawler games. And I enjoyed playing these with my brother quite a bit. Those were really good games. And then also SSX 3, a game that, wow, one of the most seminal games in the world for me, because even though, SSX 3 from like a gameplay perspective, when it comes to it's like extreme sports video games, to me, the de facto winner is always going to be the Tony Hawk games, particularly the Underground and American Wasteland games for me. But SSX was a very important game for me just because it was fucking awesome, even though I have never snowboarded in my life. I love that game dearly. But more importantly, because SSX 3 I considered to be probably the most significant game I ever experienced for its soundtrack. More than Tony Hawk, more than Guitar Hero, more than a lot of Burnout, other great games that have not notorious, just categorically iconic soundtracks. Grand Theft Auto Vice City is one that comes to mind. But SSX 3 for me will always be a super special one because Cars the video game for some reason had a really good soundtrack, licensed soundtrack. SSX 3 for me, the best licensed soundtrack, because this is the game that introduced me to the band that would then become my favorite band from the time I played this game up until now, at age of 30. Still, biggest Yellow Card fan ever. Of course, SSX 3 featured Way Away, which is the opening track off their hit album, Ocean Avenue. And I heard that and I was like, this is like everything I love about Green Day and Simple Plan rolled into one badass band. And then, I went down the rabbit hole and I spent my birthday money on their CD, and oh man, the rest is history. I was like 9 years old when I played this game and heard that song for the first time. And here I am at 30. We are 2 weeks removed from the most recent Yellow Card album release. I think that's like their 13th studio album. Does that make sense? Let me see. We don't count Midget Tossing and Where We Stand, right? We count One for the Kids, Ocean Avenue, Lights and Sounds, Paper Walls, When You're Through Thinking, Southern Air, Lift the Sail, Self-Titled. Yeah, and now Better Days. So counts as their 9th, but I think 11th if you count the records before Ryan. And there's a bunch of EPs and singles and other things. Of course, they famously did that awesome song, Gifts and Curses, for the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack. Dude, there are so many good old Yellow Card songs that are just abandoned on these compilations you've never heard of and things like that. Anyway, we don't have to get into Yellow Card. Shout out to Yellow Card. They're one of my, they are my favorite band still to this day. Absolutely love them. And shout out to SSX 3, the game that introduced me to my favorite band. Also just a great game all around. Anyway, guys, let's talk about some notable games releasing this week. Obviously, the biggest one we got to make a mention of is Ninja Gaiden 4, which is out now. As the time you're listening to this podcast, you too can play Ninja Gaiden, which weirdly released on a Monday. Yeah, of course, it's a day one Game Pass game if you got it. If you got Ultimate, if you're an Ultimate subscriber, which I am not. So I am going to put this game on a shelf for now. I'm going to play Battlefield 6, enjoy the fuck out of that. Play some Call of Duty, play some Outer Worlds, play some other games that I'm looking forward to. And then I'll get to Ninja Gaiden 4 probably when it's on sale at some point. Who knows? Probably around the holidays it will go on sale for $48, and then I can just pick it up then. But this game does look great. It's getting pretty solid reviews. It looks like I've seen a couple people say kind of lingers a bit too long, but for the most part, it's just really great combat, and it's a really great Ninja Gaiden game. Nothing super earth-shattering in terms of what it does, but it's just more great Ninja Gaiden, which I'm all on board for. Another game that comes out this week that I'm interested in playing is Painkiller. This is the new reimagining of Painkiller, which is a PC boomer shooter game from when did Painkiller come out? Was it like 02, 04, something like that? Well, this is a reimagining of Painkiller, which kind of acts as like this, like online. Is it 3 or 4 player? I think it's 4. It's 3 player. Yeah. It says here 3 player co-op game, which is weird, but it's a boomer shooter. And this one's being done by 3D Realms, of course, the Duke Nukem guys. And I think this is also getting pretty solid reviews, but looks good. Painkiller, I don't have too much history with it. My older brother had this game when I was a kid, and I remember thinking it looked badass and wanting to play it and then just never getting to play it. I don't remember why. I don't know if it was like mom wouldn't let me play the M-rated game or brother wouldn't let me use his video game. I don't remember what the reason was, but I never really played Painkiller. But I have always been interested in it, and this new interpretation of it does seem interesting as well. So definitely plan on giving that a go at some point. It came out Tuesday, so as the time you're listening to this, you can already pick that up. And then, let's see, Fast and Furious Arcade Edition comes out, what is it, the 23rd. So the day this podcast goes live, you can just know that that's going to be absolute hot garbage, along with another game that comes out alongside this the same day, Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed. So the reason why both of these games you can assume are going to be hot garbage is because they are both Game Mill Entertainment Games, a no-name company that makes these licensed G.I. Joe, Fast and Furious, Hot Wheels style games that are just always, just without fail ass. They made a Nerf game that was pretty horrible a few years ago, and so I assume these games will be pretty horrible as well, but I like that they're releasing these simultaneously because they're probably like the bones of the same game, but they're like, here's one for the 7-year-old and here's one for his 46-year-old dad. Hot Wheels for dad and Fast and Furious for the kid, of course, is what I'm referring to. Yeah, I don't know. I love Hot Wheels. I love Fast and Furious. So my dumbass is interested in both of these games, but they're probably both absolutely terrible and no one should ever play them. But they're $30 and $40 each. So good luck with that if you hate your money, guys. That's enough for some notable game releases. Let's kind of get into the meat of it. So I want to hop into the news. But first thing I want to say before we really get into the meat and potato of the news this week is that the day after this podcast goes live, Friday the 24th, the Halo World Championship 2025 is going to take place, and we know there's going to be a big announcement. There's a rumor that there might be 2 video game announcements. I don't think that'll be the case. I think we'll get one. Maybe best case scenario, you get one solid announcement and one very vague tease. But it sounds like we're going to get at least a Halo video game revealed, which we're all like 99.9% certain is going to be that Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Remaster, whatever the fuck it is, where they use Unreal Engine to make the game look prettier and they add a run button, but otherwise it's just Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition ported over to PS5 and Xbox Series X. The other rumor is that this game won't have multiplayer, and that there's a lot of AI usage that has drawn a lot of controversy around this game. I don't really know what to say about it all beyond that. We'll talk about it next week when all this is announced, and we can get into more detail. But I wonder what the other thing is. If there's an inkling that they might be announcing Halo 7 or something, or teasing it in some form, because word is that this Halo Combat Evolved remake is being done by the same team that did Oblivion Remaster, which would mean that Halo Studios, formerly 343, would have more time to be working on the next proper Halo, which would be cool. I mean, it's been 4 years since Halo Infinite, so we're due for some kind of tease or announcement regarding the next Halo game, although we all know that will be a dumpster fire like everything 343 does, but at this point in time, since they've just burned all the goodwill they had in the past couple of years. But nonetheless, as someone who is a lifelong Halo fan, I always remain eager and optimistic and excited to learn more about, see more Halo. And even though I don't have the highest hopes, or I don't have a lot of confidence in Halo Studios right now, and with Microsoft more broadly, with how they manage Halo, I do always root for Halo and want to see it come back and be great again, or however you want to put it. But I'm very cautiously optimistic to see whatever the hell it is they have to say and show regarding Halo. I am ready to be excited / disappointed. So that is, we'll get into all of that next week, but I am aware that, 24 hours after this podcast releases, it will somewhat be dated because all that news will have been out, and this podcast will cover none of it. But with that said, let's get into the rest of the news we have this week. There are some interesting topics certainly to talk about, and I want to start out with this one about Sarah Bond hinting at the next Xbox console. So this is a translation from The Verge, but I think the original interview was from Mashable. So they say, we already know the next-gen Xbox console isn't locked to a single storefront, and it will use AMD chipset inside, and it will remain compatible with an existing library of Xbox games. But now, Microsoft appear to be teasing that the next-gen Xbox will be some sort of hybrid console and PC after all. Xbox President Sarah Bond sat down with Mashable this week to discuss the latest Xbox Ally X handheld and dropped some vague hints about Microsoft's next-gen home console, in which she says, when asked about rumors that the next-gen console could be more like a gaming PC, she says that she can agree, quote, I can tell you're right, and that the next-gen console is going to be a very premium, very high-end curated experience. You're starting to see some of the thinking that we have with the handheld, but I don't want to give it all away. Bond's latest comments are very subtle, but are they? They seem pretty, anyway. But they once again line up with her previous promises to deliver an Xbox experience that is not locked to a single store or tied to its own to one device, and prioritizing Windows. So she said, quote, and this is a prior quote, that's why we're working closely with Windows to ensure that the Windows experience is on a number of platforms for gaming. This is what she said back in June while announcing a multi-year partnership with AMD for a portfolio of Xbox devices, and that AMD partnership is a large reason why we're pretty confident that we're going to get, at the very least, one more hardware generation out of Xbox, although I fully suspect that what we're getting next round is going to be some very boutique, high-end, hyper-expensive Xbox-made first-party device. And then there's going to be like not an AMD, like a Toshiba version and a Samsung version and a fucking Lenovo version and whatever. All these different manufacturers, an Asus version can all make their own version of the device, similar, again, how I've been saying for years now, like how they do the Surface devices, where you can buy a Surface Pro, and it's Microsoft's premier ideal version of a Windows PC, but you can also buy an Asus and a Lenovo and a Dell version of a computer as well, and they're all Windows computers as well, and so that is something I'm fully expecting to be the case. I don't love it, I'm not excited about it, but it does once again seem like Sarah Bond is saying, hey, a lot of the things that you're seeing with this new Xbox Ally handheld, that's not really an Xbox, is very much in sync and in line with a lot of what we're going to be doing with our next hardware, which is kind of exciting because I know people are really curious about this device where it's like, it's an Xbox, but it's also a gaming PC, and you can play your Steam games on it, but you can play your Xbox games, and it has multiple storefronts. I know people are really excited about that. I don't see how there's any chance in hell it ever makes financial viable sense for them to do that, although I don't put it past Microsoft to try and make it happen because they're Microsoft and they're always doing something that's like somehow advanced and ahead of its time and somehow ass backwards and stupid and counterproductive and obvious from a far distance that it won't work. But nonetheless, here we go, taking bold risks that will no doubt destroy the Xbox brand as we know it, all for the sake of, I don't know, try to differentiate yourself or Hail Mary to try and compete with Sony in a world where the traditional format is not going to work in your favor anymore because of decisions you've made that have taken you too far down a path you can't turn around and go back from. I don't know what to say. But yeah, Sarah Bond, I like how The Verge refers to this as a subtle comment. I don't think this is subtle at all. I think Sarah Bond is basically just saying the quiet part out loud, which is that the next Xbox is going to be Microsoft's hardware home console version of an Xbox ROG Ally. And if that's the case, oh boy, I've been watching a lot of Xbox Ally videos the past week, and I really hope they do a lot to Windows to make it a lot more of a tailor-made experience and a lot less of just a generic PC Windows experience for the next Xbox, because if I boot up my next generation Xbox and I pay $1,500 for that device, and that thing just basically boots up like a Windows computer and asks me if I want to update my calculator and my drivers and download Microsoft Movie Maker, I'm going to be pretty fucking disappointed with myself. But we will have to wait and see. I suspect we're going to find out a lot about this device next year, so I very much do look forward to that, more so out of curiosity and obligation to support Xbox hardware and less so because I'm genuinely excited for another generation of Xbox. Not because I don't want Xbox to continue, but because I feel like this generation has no valid reason to end anytime soon. Games look great. They run great. I don't think that we need more powerful machines that make games look and run even better than they already do. I am more than satisfied with the level of performance and power we're getting out of our consoles and the quality and fidelity of the games we're getting. But, if this is where we're headed, that we need yet another generation when the Xbox Series generation doesn't have a whole lot, to put on its name aside from fucking Redfall, Starfield, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5. I mean, it's not been a great one for Xbox this generation. I'll say that. They somehow managed to take a generation that seems so promising and make it work out worse for them than the Xbox One generation. So I guess Xbox at least deserve credit for that. And just remember, guys, as always, market consolidation is a great thing. You as consumers are winning right now because Microsoft bought Activision. Just keep telling yourselves that. It will make sense eventually. All right, moving on to other things that make me frustrated, like EA games. Battlefield 6, a game they happen to own and publish that is excellent, has enjoyed the biggest launch in the history of the series, said EA. According to the publisher, Battlefield 6 sold more than 7 million copies in its first 3 days on the market, setting record highs for the series. The game saw more than 172 million matches played online over 3 days. That makes no sense. That doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit. During its opening weekend, Battlefield hit EA's highest ever concurrent player account on Steam, reaching peak concurrent count of 747,000 players, overtaking the 624,000 player record set by Apex Legends. Now, the only thing I'll give Battlefield like a little bit of like keep this in mind though, is that Battlefield is historically a very PC-centric franchise, and so it's probably going to do better on Steam and PC than anywhere else. But that being said, Battlefield is a very successful franchise, especially newer entries on home consoles like Xbox and PlayStation. So it's not to say that like this game isn't a huge smash hit success. It's just to say that compared to a game like Call of Duty, Battlefield is more likely to do better on PC than console, whereas Call of Duty is more likely to do better on console than PC. But I don't want to diminish anything. I mean, Battlefield 6 has been an absolute roaring success. I mean, I'm one of the people that played it from day fucking one. I'm 25 hours into the game. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So it's not like, I'm trying to poo-poo it. I'm just trying to add some perspective to the conversation. But while saying that, I do want to mention Battlefield 6 fucking rocks, and it's awesome to see them be able to hit a success like this, because I think in the past with games like Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 2042, there have just been these murmurings and these rumors, and like even with Bad Company 2 to some extent, Battlefield 3 and 4, where there's always this weird contingency of Battlefield people who are like, I don't know, man, I think Call of Duty's really cooked this time. Battlefield is going to be the biggest game ever. It's like, no, dude. Battlefield's going to be a huge success, but nothing's going to dethrone Call of Duty. But this really is the first time where Battlefield has been so overwhelmingly successful that it really has played a huge role in kind of shaking the Call of Duty boat a little bit and being a little bit of a wake-up call to Activision, where it's like, yo, you're not the only ones who can make a massively, overwhelmingly fuck you successful multiplayer military shooting game. And it's not to say that Battlefield hasn't been successful in the past. It's a wildly successful series, but this game is next level. This really is next level in terms of how well it's being received and how well it's performing sales and engagement wise. So I'm sure EA is absolutely 100% thrilled with it. Big shout out to the Battlefield studios behind this game. It's an excellent game. I really loved it a lot, and we'll talk about it more later in the podcast. But 7 million copies sold in the first 3 days is no fucking joke. I would guess that at this point the game has probably sold 12 to 13 million copies at these 2 weeks in. So that would be pretty fucking impressive. I think Call of Duty games generally sell on the low end like 15 million copies to 20 million copies, and on the high end like 30 to 40 million copies. So this game can end up, within its first year selling 25 to 30 million copies. I mean, that will be an overwhelming smash hit success, something that is up there in that territory of like, there are not many games that sell like this. There's Call of Duty, there's Grand Theft Auto, there's Red Dead Redemption, there's Minecraft, there's Mario, there's Zelda, and then Mario Kart, and there's like, and that's a huge like swing. I'm naming games that sell 30, 40 million copies, and then games that sell like 80 to 100 million copies. I know I'm all over the map, but it's in that upper echelon of like, generally, a game of the budget and the scale of a Battlefield game can be pretty successful at like, 7, 8, 10 million copies sold. But this thing's going to smash past that number, within a week, which is crazy. And most AAA games, not at Battlefield budget, but, at, some kind of 3D AAA, more like sexy looking game, even something like where it's not like super, super expensive, but it is a AAA game, like a Resident Evil or something like that. Those kinds of games can be successful at like 4 million copies sold, let alone, you think about trying to hit in a year 30, 40 million copies sold. So Battlefield 6 is quite an impressive success, and it's awesome to see, because I love the competition. I love how it's encouraging Activision to make Call of Duty better. I love how it's just a great game for us to enjoy, and Battlefield is back in a situation where it's getting some love and appreciation, and much deserved. And I just love that. I just love this game. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm just happy to see it do well. All right, guys. And then speaking of Battlefield, let's do the yin to the yang and talk some Call of Duty, where a former director, Glenn Schofield, says that he's immensely worried about the future of the franchise under Microsoft's leadership, and questions whether Xbox's culture will be compatible with the teams behind the hugely popular Call of Duty series. So this is from VGC. During a decade at his studio at Sledgehammer Games, Schofield directed the installments Modern Warfare 3 from 2011, Advanced Warfare from 2014, and World War II from 2017. He left the studio and co-founded he left the studio that he co-founded in 2019 before going on to build the Callisto Protocol at Krafton. And of course, before all of that, he was at EA working on the Dead Space series. So Glenn Schofield, very notable developer indeed. But speaking of VGC at Gamescom Asia, Schofield said that he was skeptical about whether the FPS series could remain successful under Microsoft, citing cultural concerns such as the way in which staff are incentivized in Microsoft's recent track record with franchises like Halo, which have declined in popularity. Quote, I worry about it immensely. I really do, he told VGC. Because what's happening with Gears of War, where's Halo, you know what I mean? And you look at EA and you look at the big companies, and I'm like, where's the Strike games? Where is this game? And where are so many... Sorry, and there's so many games that just fall by the wayside. Unfortunately, once you're assimilated by one of these companies, I think that you take some of their traits. The other thing is, I don't know... but I would imagine that Call of Duty's bonus system is out, and that you have, and now you have theirs, and people are going to go, this isn't that. Bear with me. His quote, he's kind of all over the place. He goes, Schofield said that his pessimism about the future of Call of Duty also relates to the departure of key staff, as well as his exit co-founder, Michael Condrey, and who also left Sledgehammer Games following the Black Ops veteran David Vonderhaan. Vonderhaar. He says, quote, I hate to do this, but since I left Sledgehammer, none of the games have been very good. I mean, the last one, Modern Warfare 3 from 2 years ago, was a 50. He's referring to the Metacritic score. They still sell well, That happens. You move. I always wonder, why did you take that guy out? It's not going to work later. It's very few times it does that work. They just aren't as good. They just aren't the same. Treyarch's still really good, but I feel like I got lucky. I feel like I was there in the heyday of EA during the time where, it was the who's who of who was there. And then I got to Activision. I made Modern Warfare 3 in 2011. As a matter of fact, Modern Warfare 3 was the last Call of Duty to win Action Game of the Year. And my other 2 games were nominated for it, but now, you don't see them. So anyway, there's a lot to go on there. He's just kind of pulling in different directions without a whole lot of coherency. But he's talking about how basically Call of Duty is losing its steam. It's losing its illustrious kind of artistic flair and its respect and prominence among the elites and the critics, and that people are just kind of getting fatigued. And he's saying, whether coincidence or not, that a lot of this starts to happen around times where he leaves these teams, and that some of his notable teams leave, and that you just kind of have these it's easy to look at that and be like, well, that's a little self-important and self-aggrandizing, but I think the bigger point he's trying to make, or if you want to interpret it on more of a goodwill or good faith kind of interpretation, I think is what he's trying to say is that a lot of people, who are notable behind these games leave, and then the games kind of keep going and keep their steam as far as sales, and they just become these unstoppable machines that you can't really get in the way of their performance. But in terms of their artistic integrity and their being unique and innovative and really interesting games, they just start to waver and wane as these notable figures leave the game. And then these teams that make these newer entries just kind of become these husks on autopilot, spewing out more Call of Duty content to feed the machine, and less so like impassioned, bold, and artistic creative projects that are the result of inspired ideas and excitement among the team who make them. So I think that's what he's getting at. Although it does come off as a little like schizophrenic, incoherent, and maybe self-important the way he talks a little bit. To be fair, but I gotta be honest, I kind of disagree with him. I think the problem with Call of Duty, I think it's a lot more simple than people make it out to be. There's a couple things you can point to with Call of Duty. I mean, the first thing is just plain and simple fatigue. I think that's your biggest thing, right? It's a series that comes out every year without fail. And the reason why it gets so much more hate than you think of other annualized series like sports games is because there's always been this divide, and we can go really far down this rabbit hole if we want to, but I'll try to keep it concise. Most hardcore gamers don't give a shit about Madden or FIFA. There's a pretty fine divide between a lot of like sports fans and gamers, and there just so happens to be this big Venn diagram where there are a lot of sports fans that own video game consoles. You think about the guy that plays NBA 2K and Madden and Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, but if it's not one of those like verified Toxic Man, like cool boy games, you don't touch it. You're not going to touch the artsy game. You're not going to play fucking Keeper by Double Fine, Productions by any means. You're going to play NBA and Grand Theft Auto because you're a cool boy. And outside of those games, I think a lot of hardcore gamers just kind of like, I don't give a shit about FIFA. I'm not going to make fun of Madden because I don't even care about football. But then you look at Call of Duty, and it's this weird convergence of like, it once was a hardcore video game fan kind of game, and then it went so mainstream and so broad appeal that it hit such a wide swath of players, and now it lives and dies by its more like ephemeral nature of like the game comes out, it's a thing for a few months, and then it kind of gets lost to history to make way for the new entry. And the core of the player base that play it are either like COD content creators or casual gamers who just play Call of Duty because it's what they do, or annualized sports players who play Call of Duty as their one non-sports video game. And I think Call of Duty just serves this very specific, huge market, but this very specific market that will just buy Call of Duty every year, year in, year out, regardless of how good or bad it is perceived by the rest of the industry. And I think the hardcore, loud, vocal minority of the gaming space have gotten to a point where they're so fatigued by Call of Duty and they view it as such uninspired schlock that it is an easy punching bag and target for a lot of gamers and people in the games community to kind of rag on. But I think at the end of the day, as someone who plays Call of Duty pretty much every year, Call of Duty is still a quality game. And that is the thing that I feel like, even like Call of Duty content creators fail to be able to speak earnestly about, which is like, you can play the latest Call of Duty and say to yourself, man, this isn't as good as Black Ops 1 in 2010 or Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. That's fine if you feel that way. I feel that way largely about most Call of Duties. But the thing is, what's impressive is we live in a world where you can't get a video game that was developed in under 7 years that isn't completely fucking broken on day one. And Call of Duty somehow still manages to be, year in and year out, a mostly well put together, highly polished, fully envisioned, complete experience every single November without fail. And that is pretty much unheard of in today's world, and it's very impressive that it exists. And I think that is something about Call of Duty that deserves credit for, because every year Call of Duty ends up being, a solid, dumb action movie video game that you play for 6 hours, an addictive, fun, some years better than others, multiplayer suite of experiences, and then more often than not, there's some kind of third mode like a zombies or something that's pretty good as well. The other thing I think you point to with Call of Duty is just the fact that the Fortnite-ification and trying to trend chase and keep up with things that have led to Warzone permeating throughout the game and microtransactions permeating throughout the game and kind of diluting the experience and the seriousness and the identity of Call of Duty. And I do think that is a big problem, especially for longtime fans of the series. But aside from those things I just pointed out, I just think that Call of Duty actually is, for all intents and purposes, still a pretty solid video game that comes out every year. It's good old reliable. It's like Dude, Call of Duty it's the fucking McDonald's of video games. I mean, like, listen, are you going to take a first date or your wife on your 10th anniversary to McDonald's? Absolutely not. But are you going to eat McDonald's at least once a year and at some point go, damn, that was kind of fucking clutch. I was really hungry. I hit the drive-thru on my way home, and that quarter pounder with cheese really fucking hit the spot. And I think that's what Call of Duty is. And sometimes people, they just overthink what they expect it to be or what they think it should be, or they laugh at it for what it is. But it's like, listen, man, you don't play Call of Duty because you want to be blown away by some Shakespearean story every fucking time you pop in the game. But you do play Call of Duty because you know it's consistent. You know what to expect. You know, even though it's not the best that you're ever going to have, it's pretty fucking good and it's going to hit the spot. It's a good time. You can't tell me that a night playing Call of Duty multiplayer with your buddies is not a good time, because it just fucking is after all these years. And I think that's the thing about Call of Duty is people just put too much stock in it and they get too mopey and whiny about, oh, well, it used to be good. It's like, listen, man, I agree. There was a heyday era for Call of Duty and some of those games were just fucking amazing. And nowadays you get more like safe entries and there's things about the new ones I don't like as much. But like for the most part, most of these newer Call of Duties are pretty fucking rock solid games. And you know, whether you got Glenn Schofield or not over at Sledgehammer Games, I mean, I still think we're getting some great games without the dude. And to make him eat a little humble pie, I will say this: Sledgehammer Games always been, probably always will be, still to this day is the case, the weakest Call of Duty developer. So calm the fuck down, brother. But you did aptly point out that Treyarch is the better developer, so I'll give you that. And shout out to Glenn Schofield. I love Dead Space, and I like Callisto Protocol. All right, let's move on, you guys. So I want to talk about this one. We're going to basically just read 90% of this write-up from VGC because I really didn't know how to cut it down too much more. I tried to, but you kind of got to see it all. And then I don't know that I have too much to say about it, but I do appreciate that someone out there is trying to voice some concern regarding this situation. So I want to proliferate it in my own little way, just because I am glad that someone's fucking saying something. 2 U.S. senators have voiced their concerns about the upcoming acquisition of Electronic Arts by a group of private investors, including Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth public investment fund. It was announced last month that EA was entered in a definitive agreement to be acquired by investor consortium comprised of the PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners. The all-cash transaction values EA at $55 billion US. It will be seen as and will see the consortium acquiring 100% of the company. In response to the news, U.S. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Elizabeth Warren have now questioned the deal, warning of potential security risks and foreign influences over Saudi-funded acquisitions. So at first I read this and I'm like, fuck yes, let's go. Let's see what you got to say. But then you get into the letter and I'm like, you went about it the wrong way. But let's read here. In a letter to the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, who serves as the chair of the Committee of Foreign Investments in the U.S., the two senators urged the committee to apply searching scrutiny to the unprecedented proposed foreign privatization of a major American technology and entertainment company, and requested information on how the committee plans to ensure the national security risks arising from the deal may be mitigated. Okay, so I do love where they're what do you want to say? I do love this like vision for what it is they want to argue here. But then you get into the weeds of it. I'm like, but let's just read on so we can talk about this. So the pair also states that the PIF's strategic investment in sport, video games, and other cultural institutions are more about leveraging long-term shifts in public opinion of the country rather than they are about actually making money. So that's a really important part. They say, quote, Saudi Arabia's desire, this is all from the letter, desire to buy influence throughout the acquisition of EA is apparent of the face of the transaction. The investors propose that they pay more than $10 billion above EA's trading value for the company whose stock has stagnated for about half a decade in an unprecedentedly volatile industry. They also question the PIF's decision to partner with the Affinity Partners American investment firm, which was formed in 2021 by Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and mainly focuses on investing in U.S. and Israeli companies, with most of its funding coming from the Saudi Arabian government, because, you know, our government is definitely, our president and his family are definitely not even remotely corrupt at all. They're definitely draining the swamp with that one. The letter claims that Saudi Arabia has only invoked Kushner's firm on the deal so proposed acquisitions can be more easily approved by the U.S. government. The quote, the PIF's decision to partner with Donald Trump's family member, Jared Kushner, whose firm previously received a $2 billion investment from the PIF over objections of the PIF's own investment screening board, raised troubling questions about whether Mr. Kushner's involvement is involved with the transaction solely to ensure the federal government's approval of the transaction, they claim. So they say he literally might just be there as a pawn, so that the federal government doesn't balk at the idea of it being solely a foreign entity, but saying, hey, there's some U.S. attachment to it, and therefore we can approve such a deal. Given the proposed transaction's termination fee contingencies, the three investors appear to be betting $1 billion that Mr. Kushner can deliver the Trump administration's regulatory approvals. Indeed, consistent with the Trump administration's unprecedented corruption and monetization of federal government power, what regulator is going to say no to the president's son-in-law? Bingo. It also argues that by taking EA private, the PIF threatens to eliminate the transparency in the company's activities, and as a result, it would, quote, would be well positioned to dictate or veto what stories are told to Americans throughout popular medium of video games, controlling narratives about U.S. history and culture. In short, the Saudi government's ability to exert its influences through EA would offer the authoritarian regime an effective tool to project power worldwide, they warned. So I want to stop there because that's where I start to disagree and lose steam with this, because I could see why they would think that, but I don't think that's at all what they're trying to do. I think this is more like they want to control the means of the operation, and they don't want to inject their culture and their ideology at all, because that's what would turn the fickle fan base of video games away from them, would be if they start to make transparent and obvious changes to the cultural output of EA. Whereas if they're more of a silent owner that just kind of acts in the background, I think they get more of what they want, which is just more control over American entertainment and media by just having that controlling ownership rather than trying to push a narrative. So they say, in short, the Saudi government's ability to exert its influences through EA would offer the authority. Okay, I already said that. Senator Blumenthal and Warren have also sent separate letters to EA's CEO, Andrew Wilson, telling him they have profound concerns that EA is an important American technology and entertainment company that has produced popular video games, and that they will cease exercising editorial and operational independence under the control of Saudi Arabia's private majority ownership. They asked Wilson to provide the information of how EA plans to continue to operate free of influence from the authoritarian government that has a history of using technology to retaliate against its critics, engage in covert influence campaigns, and censor free expression. The letter also suggests to Wilson that while the acquisition could deliver a windfall to you personally, life-altering money above all beyond $280 million in compensation provided to you over the course of a 12-year tenure as CEO, the financial benefit for the investor is less certain. Warning that the deal could give the Saudi government access to unchecked influence over the sensitive personal information collected by EA's customers. It's developed for artificial intelligence technologies and the company's product design and direction. The senators have asked Wilson to explain the following 5 things, and this is where it ends. So this is kind of where they lose me. 1, this is the 5 things they asked to be answered. 1, how will EA ensure that the personal information of American customers of EA will not be misused by the PIF or the government of Saudi Arabia? 2, how will EA's management respond to a demand from the PIF or the Saudi Arabian government for customers' personal information? 3, how will EA ensure that the company's AI research and work product will not be exploited to further the objectives of the Saudi government? 4, explain why EA's customers should have confidence that they will not be targets of Saudi covert propaganda or other influence when they interact with EA's video games, and how EA will ensure that the PIF or the government of Saudi Arabia is not to be able to influence or dictate the content or narratives of EA games. And lastly, 5, explain in detail whether any employee or agent of EA will have to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act after the acquisition is completed. So I think this is where they kind of lose the plot a little bit, which is, I'm of two minds of this. I think they're focused on the wrong thing, because I think what Saudi Arabia wants is more control over the American economy and more economic, not freedom, more economic diversity for their own wealth building and sustainability by getting out of oil dependency and getting more into entertainment and sports and games and things like that. But they're doing it in a way where they want to gobble up the attention, the dollars, and the the engagement of the American market. And that is the concerning thing. But I think what they do here, which is like, they're like, well, if Saudi Arabia owns EA, they're going to collect all this data on American citizens. They're going to use AI and their tools and in their platform to push their agenda and their social views and their ideas about America onto consumers of these video games. And how do you protect their personal information when EA has it, and et cetera, et cetera. And while I don't think that's really what there is to be worried about, although all those things are possibilities, and I guess you should be worried about them to some extent, I think this is a good argumentative point to take so that they can try to raise awareness and cause, try and convince the U.S. the Secretary of Treasury to kind of appeal to this committee, this committee on foreign investments, to try and get them to take this seriously and investigate and push back on this further. I think this is a good path to take, but I don't think in earnest that this is what we have to be fearful of. I think the bigger thing, and really the route I would just take is just simply this. It's like, listen, if we are supposedly, trying to make America great again, and we give a shit about the American economy and jobs in the American market and America first and being a little bit more of an isolationist kind of country, and if that's really how we feel and want to do business, then why are we constantly trying to outsource and push away everything that we have into foreign hands, and to not only allow a government as slimy and disgusting and just morally reprehensible as the Saudi government, to as bad as it is, to allow them to purchase a massive entertainment corporation that's been around for 30 plus years in this country. And to just be like, hey, this is no longer a U.S.-based company that is generating revenue for the U.S. economy and on behalf of, in reflecting work and creativity and output by, for, and from the American people. It is now this Saudi-owned organization that generates wealth and influence for Saudi Arabia, while leaning on an American population to consume, fund, and be entertained by this Saudi product. And I think that is a bigger concern. It's like, at what point are we, at what point do the American people wake up and realize that they're just constantly being lied to? And then the thing that, like, the real diarrhea icing on top of this absolute shit sundae, the diarrhea whipped cream on this shit sundae, is that not only is the leadership party, the president and the family behind the whole Make America Great Again movement, encouraging and allowing this kind of thing to happen, they literally actively have their own family involved in a deal like this, which I think this story aptly points out, or rather not so much the story as the senators aptly point out, that by tying a figure like Jared Kushner to this deal, it might make it, one, easier for governing bodies to approve such a deal because there is an American facet tied to this deal, and two, make it hard to say no because you have an authoritarian president that twists the arms and blackmails government agencies and corporations and billionaires to do his bidding, because this isn't left-wing thinking. This isn't crazy ideology. This isn't like my opinion versus your opinion. This is objective fact, things that are happening in our country. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, we have an increasingly authoritarian president in our White House who is breaking laws left and right, who is literally just doing everything by his own rule book and getting away with pretty much anything and everything he wants. And this is just yet another example of something that is almost without a doubt, 99.9% chance going to go through without a hitch, although it will take months for it to finally happen. But I suspect no one in this goddamn country is going to do a goddamn thing to scrutinize the deal, let alone attempt to really truly block it. So I wouldn't, if you're one of those like, oh, Microsoft should buy Activision people who were like so excited about the consolidation of Activision and Microsoft, I think if you can still be excited about the piece of shit president's family and this foreign government that is absolutely a detestable sack of shit, acquiring this great American entertainment company that just put out a game about a private military organization that goes rogue, where you have to fight them across a global conflict because corrupt government and corporate entities serve their own self-interests, and you, as a patriot, American-loving fighter of freedom and liberties, have to go and stop this Pax Armada group from their ever-encroaching reach on liberties. So now it'll be great to see the Saudi government take ownership of the publisher of great games like Battlefield 6 that have narratives such as the one I just described. But hey, this is the world we want, right? Now we can all get on our favorite social media platform and champion our favorite countries and political figureheads and multi-billion-dollar companies as they just fucking consolidate and illegally just reach and grab whatever the fuck they want on the goddamn Monopoly board, because it's their country and it's their world for the fucking taking, and you're just going to sit back and play your goddamn Battlefield 6 and not think too much about it while they go and have yet another win under their fucking belt. So that is that is unfortunately the reality of where we are on that story. Not to say I'm a huge fan of whatever. Listen, Elizabeth Warren, someone who sometimes I love, sometimes I absolutely detest, but in this case, I very much appreciate her and Blumenthal for speaking up and being at least some fucking voice in this absolutely cartoonish, absurd reality we're living in. But don't worry, it's all for nothing. EA will be owned by the Saudi government probably before you're opening your 7th fucking goddamn Christmas present. That's some goddamn fucking video game tablet PC that plays all your fucking Steam games, so you can play your Xbox, PlayStation games on your one device that has horrible battery life. Don't worry, it's okay. It's okay. Just keep focusing on Activision and Microsoft joining hands together, and everything will make sense one day. All right. I love being such an ass, knowing that like this pod. It's funny like the way such an asshole. I just want to break character for a second. The stupid, dour, defeated, dark humor. I do want to break it for a second and pay attention to the fact that I am aware that this podcast has driven out a lot of people who don't appreciate my perspective on these kinds of things, and that if you're left standing, you're either tolerant enough to say, Jesse, I disagree with you, but I'll see you in the next news story. Or people who probably agree with me to some extent or another. So I love how it's just like either preaching to the choir or bullying people who are already seeing eye to eye with me on these kinds of things. So I appreciate you letting me berate you when you're definitely not part of the problem, dear audience. Anyway, with that said, let's berate you some more. So unfortunately, Remedy Games here, it's got a little bit of a disappointing situation going on, as related by VGC. The CEO of Remedy Entertainment, Tero Vertala, has left his role with immediate effect. So he's stepping down as CEO. In a statement to investors, the company explained that Vertala and other board of directors had mutually agreed that he will be stepping down from his position as CEO effective immediately. Now, he was first appointed in August of 2016, and will now continue in service of the company during his transition period, where he will help hand over his duties to the new CEO. The new CEO for the interim period will be Marcus Mackey. He's been appointed as interim CEO until a permanent replacement can be found, and he will step down from his role as chairman of board as a result of this move. Although the statement doesn't specify exact reasons for it and why Vertali is no longer CEO, the announcement does come just a few days, just a couple weeks after the company issued a profit warning to shareholders due to weak sales of the recently released FBC Firebreak multiplayer game. It's probably no surprise that when you take big, bold risks and they don't pan out, someone has to pay. I do appreciate a company that holds their leadership accountable for taking big, bold risks, not being able to bring about the profits and the change needed, rather than just continuing to pat on the back and financially reward people who fail at their jobs. So I do appreciate that. Hopefully, Vertali, whatever. It doesn't sound like he's a guy who did something evil or anything like that. Hopefully, he's able to take his healthy earnings and go do something else that's meaningful to him. But interesting times over at Remedy. They keep swearing that they're okay, but they did say that they lost something like 15 million euro or something over the development and underwhelming sales of FBC Firebreak. So they need to get to their next Alan Wake Max Payne Control whatever soon, because it doesn't seem like their last couple of releases have really done a whole lot of good for them, and so hopefully Control 2 can kind of turn those things around for them. But it's not looking super great for Remedy, which is a little concerning, and they were in such a great position to get acquired just a few years ago, and now they're in probably not a great financial situation, although maybe trying to navigate this situation and stick it out as an independent is a better idea, because let's be honest, if PlayStation or Xbox had acquired them, they'd probably all be out of jobs anyway due to layoffs, especially if Xbox acquired them. Oh my God, are you kidding me? These people all be out of their jobs because they had to buy fucking Activision. No way. All right, let's round out with a sad one, but I want to pay tribute nonetheless. So, Tomonobu Itagaki, the founder of Team Ninja, the creator of the Dead or Alive series, has sadly passed away at the age of 58. Itagaki, who joined Tecmo in the early 1990s, went on to produce and direct the first 4 Dead or Alive games, as well as Dead or Alive Ultimate and the spin-off Extreme Beach Volleyball. He was also in charge of Tecmo's critically acclaimed reboot of the Ninja Gaiden series, producing and directing Ninja Gaiden Black, and Ninja Gaiden 2, which were all, of course, Xbox and then Xbox 360 games, original, Xbox classics. A final message written by Itagaki was posted on his Facebook page following his passing. So this is shortly after his passing. It says, "Last words." The message reads via machine translations from Japanese, quote, "The light of my life is finally fading. The fact that this message has been posted means that the time has finally come. I'm no longer in this world. I'm asking loved ones to make this final post. My life has been a series of battles. I keep winning. I've caused a lot of trouble too. I'm proud to say that I followed my beliefs and fought to the end. I have no regrets. However, I'm filled with the regret that I wasn't able to deliver the new work to all my fans. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. Or that's just how it is, so it goes." There's something a little, I guess, quite literally haunting about a posthumanist a social media posting like that, where it's like, usually like the creepy thing is it's like, oh wow, did you hear so-and-so died? Oh, it's so crazy. You can go to their Twitter. They just tweeted like 12 hours ago, and now we're reading the news of their death, right? But this is like, so-and-so died, and now here's a posting from their account nonetheless. So yeah, someone family or work-related posted this. It's probably written out by him. Sounds like he must have been facing something, was sick or dying of something, and knew he was in his final moments and drafted this up and was directing someone to post it when the time came. But this is sad. 58 years old is very young. So I assume this is probably some cancer-related, heart failure-related situation. And hopefully dude's resting well and his family are doing okay or going to get through this process all right. It's tough. It's, hard when someone passes to be like, well, hopefully you're okay. It's like, well, yeah, dude, but shut the fuck up. Like right now is not the time to be like, oh, you'll be okay. It's just the time to feel it out and grieve. So always sad. Obviously, this guy's paid a huge contribution to the industry and Xbox history with his Ninja Gaiden games, and I think he was he working on the new Ninja Gaiden 4 to some extent? I know he made that Devil's Third game for Wii U, which came out almost 10 years ago now. Wow, that game's like probably... Is it 10 years old? Holy shit, that game might be 10 or 11 years old. Oh my god, I feel old. It's been a minute, so he kind of had like a falling out, left, came back. So he's been kind of all over the place in recent history, but no doubt a name that has been tossed around a lot over the past 20 years and is a notable contributor to the world of gaming. And it'll just be sad to know that we're in a world where he passed away at a young age. So just wanted to, not too much to say other than just want to pay my respects, want to read that last set of words and just show a little, pour one out as we celebrate the release of Ninja Gaiden 4 and the life of a man who contributed greatly to the series. So big Xbox history, big contributions to the video game industry, and just sad to see the loss of another neighbor, another fellow man. So wanted to throw that out there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for all of our news this week. We will now get into kind of a wrap-up, really, of the games I've been playing and all that stuff. But before I can tell you about what it is I've been playing, real quick, you motherfuckers, I want to tell you about... I want to tell you about what it is I've been eating because, boys, I finally had it. It's been a little bit of a struggle trying to find it, but this past weekend and then today on my way home from work, I finally got to try twice the Mountain Dew Baja Midnight. So Taco Bell's been bragging about, we got this new limited time Mountain Dew Baja flavor. I don't know if they're calling it limited time, but let's be honest, we know it's limited time. But it's purple Mountain Dew Baja Blast. So, dude, it's so funny because every time I look at it, I'm just like, that just looks like Mountain Dew Pitch Black, which is the old Halloween Mountain Dew they used to sell like in the early 2000s. And they brought it back a few years ago in some limited capacity. But anyway, it literally just looks like Mountain Dew Pitch Black. And lo and behold, now that I've had it twice, it just kind of tastes like Mountain Dew Pitch Black with a splash of Baja Blast in it. It's not bad. It's pretty good, but it's not like, oh my God, you guys got to try this. It's the best Mountain Dew flavor ever. It's pretty good. If you're at a Taco Bell anytime in the near future, I'd say give it a try. All the Taco Bells around me finally have it in stock after weeks of advertising it. They finally actually have it available to purchase, and I'm glad I tried it. It was fine. So just regular calorie. There's no sugar-free or zero sugar version of it, which is fine. But, get yourself a medium or something like that. Give it a try. Try it with a pal. Try it with a spouse or significant other and see what they think of it. But, hey, if you like Mountain Dew Baja Blast or you like Mountain Dew Pitch Black, you might like this. It's a slightly grape-flavored Baja Tropical Mountain Dew. So I guess it kind of comes full circle because there was that time they tried to do a sangria flavored Mountain Dew at Taco Bell about 10 years ago. So it's like grape, wine, sangria, Pitch Black, Baja Blast. There's some kind of cross section happening with all these flavors, but it works. It works fine with Taco Bell food. I tried it alongside the new Flamin' Hot grilled cheese burrito, which is supposed to be just the grilled cheese burrito, which is an excellent item, but with like a flaming hot kick to it or hot strips or something. I've had this thing twice now, the two times I went to get the Baja Midnight, and in both instances I was like, this is delicious because I love the grilled cheese burrito, but I don't really see what makes it flaming hot. It's not really hot. There's like a couple little strips that have flamin' hot seasoning on them, but you don't really taste it. You just get the slightest mild kick in like one or two bites of the burrito. So from the perspective of being a flamin' hot burrito, it's very disappointing. But from the perspective of just being a delicious grilled cheese burrito from Taco Bell, it fucking slaps. It's great. So grilled cheese burrito, always a good time. Mountain Dew Baja Midnight, pretty good. Don't run to it or anything, but pretty good. If you have the chance to try it, I recommend it. But regular Baja Blast is still going to be the way to go. And with that said, guys, that's it for what I've been eating. So let's move on over to what I've been playing. Let's start out with the first thing, because obviously the big thing here is Battlefield 6. So I'll start out with Donkey Kong Bonanza. I did finally wrap this game up. I was traveling for work last week, so I played this game in the airport, on the way there, on the way back, in the hotel a little bit. So I wrapped this game up on my trip home the other day, and I gotta say, I really love this game. It's really good. I think it's the perfect length. It's very interesting and unique. The thing I like about this game a lot is that it is a character 3D platformer game, but it takes a couple hours for you to kind of figure out what am I trying to say? What it's like, its paces, like what the loop of this game is, because it's not, like Mario 64. It's like you run around the little hub world castle, you find a painting, you hop in the painting, then you're in a level. In the level, you do the thing it tells you to do, like get to the end of the level or defeat the boss or whatever, and then you get the star, and then it pulls you out of the level, and then you have another star, and then you can find another painting and jump in and do another level, right? Or in some platformers, it's like you just select a level and then you run from point A to point B. Donkey Kong Bonanza is very interesting because it is very linear and very open all at the same time. And it kind of works by these layers where you're digging deeper into the earth, to the Earth's core, and every layer is like a different little hub world / level. But then what you do in it is kind of open-ended, and you can do some of it, you can do all of it, you can do a lot of it, but it feels pretty linear and guided without feeling like it's just on rails. It still feels kind of open like Mario Odyssey does. I guess technically it feels most like Mario Odyssey in terms of its pacing and its gameplay loop, but I feel like the way in which it's presented in Donkey Kong Bonanza works a lot better. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it outright. I like Mario Odyssey a lot. I know a lot of people, that's their favorite Mario game. I like Mario Odyssey a lot. I don't dislike the game whatsoever, but I do think Mario Odyssey is a slightly overrated Mario game. I think it is not as good as Mario Galaxy, and I will say, I think Donkey Kong Bonanza is a better game than Mario Odyssey. I think this is that team taking that formula and that idea and doing something a little more interesting with it. So in my opinion, in fact, I'd even say it's the best Donkey Kong game I've ever played. I really do like it a lot. I think all the different bonanza forms or whatever you get, like the snake and the zebra and the elephant and all the shit, they had a lot of fun gameplay mechanics, and it's really cool, especially towards the end of the game when you're in some of the boss fights, and the boss fights can, require you to do some like quick on your feet thinking, where it's like, okay, transform into this guy so you can punch the bad guy, and then when he does this attack, transform into the snake so you can jump over that attack, then transform into the elephant so you can suck up this thing he throws at you and then throw it back at him. And it's like this really like puzzly, but it's like the perfect blend of like using very light puzzle solving to figure out what to do, where it's not going to stump you, but it's going to make you feel smart, while also just combining these different skills and abilities into into like this perfect platforming loop. And I think it's a very fun game. A fun little twist with the story at the end, where it deviates a little and does some fun shit. And then now I'm on to the DLC, which just came out a few weeks ago, where you can go to Donkey Kong Island and explore that. And then there's this new game mode called like Emerald Rush or something like that. I barely played the DLC yet, so I don't really have anything to say on that. But just dicking around in it for a couple minutes so far, I'm starting to think maybe $20 was a little bit of a steep price for this DLC, but nonetheless, I'm eager to check it out and see what it's all about. But that is the first thing I've been playing this week, is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Definitely one of my favorite games I played this year, for sure. It's a very, very fun time. Very much reminds me of everything I love about Nintendo and why I love 3D platformers as my favorite genre, despite the fact that usually I'm playing a first-person shooter, which is probably my other favorite genre. But anyway, speaking of first-person shooters, the other game I've been playing a lot this week is Battlefield 6, of course. Now, I haven't been playing as much Battlefield 6 as I would like to have, because I was traveling for work. I didn't get home till late on Friday. Then Saturday, I went to work for a little bit, did some stuff. And then after work on Saturday, I spent the day with my girlfriend because I wasn't home all week. And so I kind of felt like, we got to spend some time together and do some stuff. And then Sunday, it just became like a catch-up day. It's like I got to do yard work. I got to get ready for the week of work. It was one of those, traveling equals like your whole schedule's thrown off. So it just kind of ended up being a weekend of not very much video game playing. Also, when I did have some free time, I really wanted the Seattle Mariners to go to the World Series, but of course they didn't. So I was watching some baseball as well. But here we are. I played some Battlefield 6, maybe another 5 hours of it or so the past couple days. And here's the thing about Battlefield 6 is I really, really love this game. I still love this game. I'm really happy with the update they just did that made progression a lot less of a bitch, but which does address some of the issues I had with it. But I'm running into this issue with Battlefield 6 where every time I step away from the game and then come back, I feel like the game is just a little harder than I remember it being the last time I played it. And over the 2 weeks it's been out, I feel like I can feel this game transitioning away from being this really unique evolution of Battlefield and kind of just becoming Battlefield as I remember it, where it's like you spawn and then it's like, oh my God, I just got shot and I didn't even see where that guy was from. Okay, fuck that. All right, revive me. And then all the medics around you run away and don't revive you. And they're like, fuck it. Hold down the button, force revive. Okay, let's respawn. And then it's like, where are we going to respawn? Well, can't respawn there because my teammate's dead. Can't respawn there because okay, I'll have to respawn back to the HQ, whatever. And then it's like, wait 4 more seconds before you can respawn. It's like, fuck, this sucks. Then you finally respawn. It's like, okay. And then you start running towards the objective and then boom, you die without even knowing what happened. It's like, what the fuck? And then there's a medic next to you and he doesn't revive you. And then it's like, come on, dude. And I just feel like this game is getting harder and harder the more people start to play a shit ton of it, memorize the maps, master the guns and the skills and the different vantage points, and kind of get into the meta of the game. And it's not that, yes, this is a Jesse, you suck, get good kind of moment, but it is disappointing to me a little bit that, I still think it is the best Battlefield we've had. I like that the maps are smaller, so there's less running around aimlessly and more action. I like that the game just feels and controls slicker and faster and better and just feels more precise. I really like the way this game plays and looks and feels. But it's just, man, the more that the player base gets acclimated to this game, the more I find myself just getting aggro at all the fucking nonsense kills from just campers and snipers and exploiters and lack of teamwork and just all that frustration. But, it is like for every bad game I have, there's also a really good one. Like the other night, I just played Rush exclusively because I realized I hadn't played Rush yet in this game, and I had a blast. I had 2 games in a row where I just kind of popped off. I did really well. I love playing modes like Rush where it's like, I'm just going to sit here, defend this objective. hunker down with an LMG and just mow down waves of bad guys as they come to me. Or like playing Conquest and then playing Engineer and then being like, I'm just going to run around, repair my tanks and destroy enemy tanks. I just want to watch tanks explode the fuck up. And that's all I need. I don't need to kill enemies and feel like I have a positive KDR. I just want to watch tanks explode. So the game is incredibly fun. I do love it quite a bit. I'm glad I beat the campaign. I have that under my belt because now with that and Donkey Kong done, I feel like I can just kind of play Battlefield 6 multiplayer in my free time and just enjoy that for a few weeks while I wait for Call of Duty to come out. And there's like less pressure to like, gotta play this game, gotta play that game, because I'm just gonna let Ninja Gaiden sit on the back burner for a while I just kind of feel out what's good right now as we get into our busy season, as we're kind of in the thick of our busy season right now, really. But yeah, that's really all I had to say on Battlefield 6 right now. I'm just really enjoying the hell out of it. The season 1, they just showed a bunch of stuff for it. It looks really good. That new map that takes place on a golf course looks fucking awesome. I can't wait to try that. But that's really it for what I've been playing. Cronky writes in actually and says, we just welcomed our first baby, so I didn't really get a chance to game this week, or probably won't for the next 50 weeks in a row. But I just wanted to jump in here and ask, if you love Battlefield so much, why don't you marry it? Because I love Battlefield so much, but Battlefield is a side chick, baby. I love Call of Duty more than I love Battlefield, and I'm very excited for Black Ops 7, so that's the honest to God truth. But more importantly, yes, my brother Cronky did just have a baby this past week. I was going to put it at the top of the show, but because you wrote this comment around Battlefield, I felt like this was the place to put it. But yes, a huge congratulations to my brother Cronky and his wife, Mrs. Cronky, and their new baby Cronky. Baby Cronky is fucking adorable. I'm so happy that he is in this world, and I'm very sad that I am 500 miles away from you guys right now, and I'm not there to hold my new little nephew, but I'm loving watching the pictures, and I appreciate the updates, and this little guy is like, and there's like, everyone says this is like, oh, when they're related, they're like, oh, he's so cute, or the baby's so cute, and then like, you see the baby, and you have no biological, relationship to this person, so you're just like, ew, ugly baby. But I gotta be honest, listen, I'll be honest with you. I've had some nieces and nephews where they were babies. I'm like, yeah, you look like an alien, like every other baby does. But real talk, Cronky's baby, Cronky Jr., when this baby was born, like basically from the moment he was born, he was a cute baby. I'm like, that's impressive. They're usually not that cute when they're like a day old. Usually it takes a couple months. So I want to give a shout out. This is a very cute baby. Very excited about him. So congrats again. Love you. And looking forward to converting this little guy into being a jaded Xbox fan alongside the rest of us in the coming years. So, but I'm not marrying Battlefield. I don't want to do Call of Duty dirty like that. But good question nonetheless. And then normally we would then transition into listener questions and things like that, but we didn't really have any this week. Cronky wrote that in, and then we had one more from Cargo Runner UK. So we'll just read Cargo Runner's comment, round out the podcast, and call it a day. So Cargo Runner says, you make a great point. The Xbox Series generation will be remembered for the endless drama. It will not be remembered for the great games. From now on, I'm just going to ignore what Microsoft are doing and block out the drama. I will just enjoy playing my Xbox backlog. Eventually, when Elder Scrolls 6 is released, I will stop and think about new Xbox hardware devices. I think that is very sage advice, and I highly encourage others to do the same. I feel like my mental health increased a pretty decent amount when I got rid of Twitter, and I highly encourage others to do the same. And then also minimize yourself on Reddit. I feel like Reddit's another big one, where Reddit can be really helpful if you're in the right communities, but going to more generalized communities, it can be a little problematic. Xbox can be one of those, but it's hard. You got to find your way to love Xbox and feel like you're a part of that community and that fandom, while also not engaging with the most unsavory, toxic characters within it. But it sounds like you're doing your part to just try and enjoy the things you enjoy and not let all the stuff you can't control that's negative and disappointing paint your experiences and your perceptions of things that bring you happiness. So I highly applaud you for that and encourage others to try and find their way of doing the same. But Cargo Runner, I am, It's too bad because the Xbox Series X and S are both excellent consoles. They're really, really fantastic Xbox consoles. And there have been some excellent games released this generation, but between the pandemic and all the Xbox drama and the economic shit and the layoffs and the cancellations and the studio closures, this has just been one of the most negative and disappointing generations ever in video game history. And that's just too fucking bad. But Hopefully Xbox can turn it around. I kind of doubt it, but I am still optimistic and excited to see how things play out in the future, because there is a lot of interesting stuff happening in Xbox. Whether it's the stuff you want to see or not, there's no denying a lot of interesting stuff is in the cards soon. And so I do look forward to watching it all play out. But guys, that is going to do it for the Xbox On podcast this week. I hope you all have a wonderful week. If you got your own little Cronky Juniors to take care of, hope your babies are doing well. Hope your spouses are staying sane. Why don't you do something nice for someone you love? Go do the dishes or fold some laundry. Play some good video games. Let Donkey Kong into your life. He is our Lord and Savior after all. And until next week, starting to get nice outside. The weather's been really good the past few days. Hope it is for you as well. Power your dreams.